We working yet or no?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, now I can hear you. All right.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, not a problem. It's great to be able to talk to you and be able to talk about some brand new music from Deathwish, which just came out back on Friday. I've gotten the chance to be able to check out this album for quite a bit of time, but before the release, and I really got to dig deep with this album. And I really truly appreciate what you guys continue to do, just being able to blend these genres that fit together so very well, and just be able to create some really catchy music out of it. And I think you guys just hit it out of the park once again with this one.
Thank you. Those are some pretty kind words. We're stoked to have done it. It was a lot of work. We went through three record labels before it got released, but it eventually came to light, and we're actually on our first day of tour with DRI. So we're in the middle of the country right now, and yeah, everything so far is going great.
And what a perfect band to be able to go on tour with, especially with the new album and being able to be on the new album cycle, being able to open with DRI. That's so cool.
Yeah, I think we've done like 250 plus shows with them already. But being label mates with them have been nothing but amazing. Spike and Kurt super helpful. Like they've all helped us out just tons. So there's a bunch of other bands like Millions of Dead Cops are on the label Raw Power. There's all sorts of bands that we toured with like that are all on the same label.
Oh, awesome. So, thinking about that, I mean, how does it feel to finally have the album out for just about a week now?
I'm pretty excited. It like took 4 years, and the journey was like just crazy because we got signed to like a $250,000 record deal from Victory over four records, and like as we were getting our stuff all together and already after we got finally signed, um, they sold for like over 30 something $1 million to Concord, which is a multi-billion-dollar company. And then Concord wouldn't even like reply, they didn't care. So then Tony Victory waited out his no complete clause and then wrote us again and had a couple other bands that I enjoy on the label. And he's like, hey, I'm doing Mission 2 and everything's still here. So do you want the same contract? I'm like, oh, absolutely. So he just sent me a new contract for Mission Two. It was basically the same deal, and I was pretty excited. And then a couple of records came out right as our record was supposed to come out. All of a sudden, like I call them back, and the phone line is dead. And then like luckily I called my entertainment lawyer, and they're just like, go check if they've paid anybody yet. And oh, they said they were going to put us on hold for COVID. And then 2 weeks later, the company was gone. So that makes more sense what was going on there. And so I just talked to our entertainment lawyer, and he's like, "Hey, go ask anybody if they got paid yet." And no one had. And then he's like, "All right, so you're gonna wait till this contract wears out, and then you're gonna actually just buy all the stuff." So in the good news, Tony Victory totally helped me out a ton, and then I didn't get screwed over whatsoever, really. I just got, and then like we waited till the contract ran out, and we were on a tour last year with DRI, and I was talking to Mike from Beer City Records, and I just basically send him the link to the whole record. And he was like, "Oh, this is the best shit you guys have ever done. You guys want to do another record with me?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So only took three record labels to get there, but we got there.
Well, I think it was worth it in the end, even if it did take such a long time for it to happen. Because I have to agree. I think this is the best work you guys have done to date, and knowing that now, I mean, especially with things going forward, hopefully it goes a lot more smoother when new releases start to come out. And I imagine the creativity is like brewing right now, considering how long you've had these songs.
Yeah, we like we're stoked because we're finally playing them out, and like now we're going on tour. We added like more of them to our set, and like yeah. So we get to rock them all out and see how the response is. And we played our first show. Um, man, that was like a 26-hour drive ago. And like that first show was like packed. The place went nuts. They really enjoyed the new stuff. A lot of the people that pre-ordered already had their stuff, so they were singing already all the chorus lines and stuff. So it was pretty cool. Good
Yeah.
good reaction always makes a performer happy.
Oh yeah, especially when it's brand new material and you want to be able to show that off in the right lights. And of course, when you're doing touring, I mean, it can be so hard to figure out like how many new songs you want to be able to show off the new album while still being able to play the back catalog as well too. But it sounds like you're doing it right now with I mean, it sounds like it's good balance.
Yeah, we do. We basically play In Cold Blood, and then we play the Fourth Horseman, and then we play Aftermath. And the Aftermath is actually a song that was originally written in a band that me and the guitar player Ryan were in called War Torn. So we've been playing Aftermath for like 20 years or something. And I was just like, hey, let's add it to this band. And the War Torn version is more of like we're almost like a Wolf Brigade type band. So it's more like Epic Crust or whatever you want to consider it. And I was like, let's just drop the jingly jangly stuff at the beginning and then just go into the heavy stuff and we'll see. And like we talked it over a little bit and our guitar player's like, well, I don't know if that'll work. And I said, well, let's give it 3 shows. If it doesn't work, we won't do it. And all 3 shows, it was like gangbusters to end with. The place went nuts and they knew some people knew the song, some people never heard that like my other band because they're more in the punk scene or they're more in like the metal scene and they like, you know what I mean? But I mean, Warthorn did get as far as we were on Southern Lord Records for our last record. So, like, you know what I mean? We kind of had a mixed bag of people that like this. But when you're like in the Wolf Brigade style, it's almost like a really inclusive or exclusive audience. When you're touring with DRI, it's a really inclusive audience because it's so many different types of people that like all sorts of different styles. I kind of think in modern day times, people use inclusive and exclusive backwards.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that as well too, and I mean, but also at the same time, like that's also why I love DRI so much. I mean, they were one of those gateway bands for me when I was starting to explore music, and it's like I was able to appreciate hardcore more. I was able to appreciate thrash more. I was able to appreciate so many different styles that they were able to incorporate, and the fact that they do love being able to share the stage with so many different types of bands in different genres. I love that so much, and the fact that you have such a good rapport with them as well too is such a cool thing to see.
Yeah, I mean it's been nothing but amazing. So I mean I get like I still have like a piece of shirt with the DRI logo cut out, and I never put it on a jacket when I was a kid because I was afraid to get wrecked. And I found it maybe like 2 or 3 months ago in my basement, and like it's still folded up in a box. And I'm like, I would have never guessed in a million years that I would much less tour and become friends with like a bunch of the bands that I all enjoyed like listening to when I grew up.
So, considering you did just find that, do you think that you will like put it on a jacket sometime, or do you just want to keep it separate, or what are you
Oh
gonna do?
no, I'll just keep it. It's fine. It's like I got plenty of DRI shirts from all the tours we did, hoodies and stuff. So yeah, they trade stuff with us. So it is kind of flattering to see Kurt like loading out at night and he turns around and the Deathwish hoodies on him. It's like you're like, or like I also had a pro skateboard come out like the Eric Hammers Motor Shred board, and it was on Brand X, and Brand X was the skateboard company back in the '80s that did Anthrax, and they've also done since then Exodus, and then they did like had some pro skaters, and like the second skateboard I ever had was a Dogma 3 when I was a kid, so it was pretty flattering that like when the Sun started up the whole company again, Atlantic Skates and Brand X, he asked me, hey, do you want to work together? And I'm like, absolutely, I have an entire idea for a skateboard. I'm like, so let's do Motor Shred. I'll get original art. There was a guy that drew for Creature skateboards, and he drew for a lot of metal bands, and he did the art for it, so it's all original art, and then it just says Motor Shred, and it says Eric Hammers at the bottom. Kind of where the record would probably say the title. And that sold out. I like just blew through those like lightning, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had to imagine that was gonna sell out quickly because like the whole collaboration with everyone involved. I mean, that I feel like that would just like sell out so quick, and I'm glad that it did.
Yeah, it was it came out. It like as soon as I toured, people bought them left and right. I remember there was like a big raffle and like they actually bought them from me on one of the shows on the East Coast and like put them out, put them in a raffle. And I think it went towards autistic like shit to help out to autistic children. So I thought that was like for a good cause as well, which was awesome. It was just that, and it was also kind of crazy seeing Brand X on my skateboard. I mean, it's like stuff that I thought was amazing when I was a kid, and then I'm like, and now they're back at it and they're doing well. And they ended up with like Bill Danforth from Alva. They have Lester Kasai, like all these skaters I watched when I was a kid are now all associated with that company now as well. So it just gets kind of crazier as it goes along.
So thinking about that and going in kind of that direction with like skateboarding, like how do you feel about like the skateboarding world in 2024?
I don't know because I'm like super detached from it. I would say for me, once you got like the really skinny like popsicle stick boards, it was like it's really doing freestyle on street. And like, don't get me wrong, Rodney Mullen's like one of my favorite skaters, but like I would rather watch like Hawk or Hosoi go one on one on a half pipe, or watch Don's or an old Nadas Kappas video, or you name it. You know what I mean? Of like all the old legend skaters like skate street and stuff. So I'm like the glory days, like the golden days of skateboarding when the boards were really big. But I mean, I'm also I have not but respect for anybody that can do that shit now because the stuff they're doing now is so insanely crazy. It's mind blowing how talented, how many people are on the internet, and it's the internet's like a double edged sword. So for every like idiot that's mean to someone else on the internet, it is kind of cool to see some talented person in a 20-second clip that I would have never normally seen, or even knew that they existed.
Oh yeah, and it really is that double-edged sword. And but you know, trying to look at it from the positive things. I mean, there's a lot of great things you can learn about like what's going on in the state of the world right now, whether it's music, whether it is something like skateboarding, whether no matter what your interests are, there are cool things to be able to explore like that. And of course, there are the negatives as well too. But it's a real balancing act to go along with it, or just completely ignore what's going on with the internet and be able to live the life you want to live.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy like going online's fine, but like I take like everything with a grain of salt. Like, because everybody's got an opinion, and all of a sudden everybody's got like a TV show basically in their own social media. But 90% of people have never been trained on how to speak professionally or how you would do an interview professionally or have any, you know what I mean? Any of these skills or any of these things. Like I also pro wrestled for years as straight as Eric Hammers, and this is how I'm going to segue this. And I was the straightest character of must have been like 30 years ago when I started, 25 to 30 years ago. But in 2000, I was on a TV show with CM Punk, and I wanted to feud against him. And I'm like, this is before he got signed or anything. I'm like, hey, we should feud. We're at like a dinner, and he's like, no, 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 we should tag team. We're both straight edge, buddy. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. So it's like I got to like work with the TV people and like then even eventually get taught how to write with them and like showed how to, and I had to go to a training school from an old AWA wrestler that like originally first trained me. And like it's strange that like in all these other avenues, you don't, you know what I mean, need any of that. You can just go online and blast your opinions. And you're like, well, yeah, but it would work a lot better if like somebody could have like trained people. Like I don't need to see that you ate waffles this morning. I mean, there's nothing wrong with sharing that, but I'm like, okay, that's usually like my thought. If it's something really cool, you know what I mean? Then it's like some awesome band, some cool skateboarding stuff, something I'm into. Then, and I like mixed martial arts as well. So if it's something it piques my interest, and I'm like, oh, well, watch that's cool. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think there is such a balance with there, and I think a lot of people just like haven't learned that some things just like really don't need to be said. Kind of like what you mentioned with like the waffles. You know, it's just like you know, a lot of people are just doing that. Maybe it's kind of just like attention seeking. Maybe it is just like trying to reach out for conversation or something like that. But you know, it's just like sometimes it's just better to be able to promote things that you're enjoying, and that's what I try to use the internet for. Is like I love being able to tr- try to promote the things that I do enjoy. And that's why I'm so thankful to be able to do an interview like this because I love the new album so much. I love the fact that you're able to have such a great rapport with all these great bands that you're able to tour with and being able to keep spread great music around and with a great formula that you have as well too with what you do. And I would rather be able to do something like that rather than just the mundane things.
Right. And I think there's nothing wrong with it. I just like I noticed like somebody will get like a lot of attention over like some post, and then they'll just keep repeating the same style of post because they got a lot of attention with it. And in pro wrestling, you would learn right off the bang that like you don't go for the bigger pop. If you can do a 450 splash for the finish, and then you just do the finish, you don't go up there and do it again, because if you do it again and again, you actually turn into a heel or a villain, and the crowd will start booing you because you already won the match. It's like, okay, win the match and get out of the ring for the next people. And I think, like, since people don't know stuff like that, I think they're just actually like, it's just a stream of their consciousness, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't make it entertaining, not necessarily for the viewer.
Thinking about that as well too, because I am a huge pro wrestling fan. Like, what do you think of the state of the world of pro wrestling right now? Like, you know, what's on TV, what's on the independent scenes, what's online. What do you feel about it right now?
It's going really well. I mean, they got like a lot of top talent. I like Cody. Cody's an individualized superstar that definitely broke out of the shadow of the American Dream and became his own thing. I'm very happy, but I'll be honest, I liked him in Stardust. That was the first time I saw charisma out of him. And that's the first time I was like, oh yeah, he could be a top dude. And then, like, I don't know, it's like the Uso brother that does Yeet. Like, that's like one of the most over things I've ever seen in a live arena, the last like SmackDown I went to. So I think everything's in a good position. I'm like, I think AEW is awesome because it helps a lot of people have jobs. I'm not really into like the wrestling, and one of the problems I see in some of the matches is a dude will do a finisher and then like not try to win the match, no cover. And he picks the guy up and does another even crazier finisher, and then picks the guy up and does another even crazier finisher. And at that point, I'm just like, it's not gymnastics. It's not an exhibition of gymnastics. It's like it's an exhibition of athleticism, and it's supposed to be an exhibition of a competition. That's not really a competition, but you're supposed to make it look that way. And like, if me and you were in any other sport or whatever, amateur wrestling, I wouldn't like do some really great throw and then be like, okay, I'll let you go, unless I'm just trying to rack up points to beat you. But if I get you down, I'm going to try to pin you, not just get back up and do some more stuff. And it like I said, unless it was point rated, which pro wrestling doesn't even have that in their storyline. So I'm not really understanding that stuff. But overall, I still think the quality wrestling is extremely quality. I think some of the stuff that could be done better just probably won't be, because it's at some point somebody's writing the checks and that person has a lot to say. And then it depends how much experience they have. And sometimes like people are always like, oh, it's always better if the wrestler has come up with this or come up with that. And I'm like, that's not necessarily true, because you can be a wrestler, put on phenomenal matches, have a great look, and like, was Mean Mark Callis better as Mean Mark Callis, or was he better as The Undertaker? Because Percy Pringle came up with that idea, not Mark Callis. And The Undertaker's amazing. It's one of the most iconic figures ever. So would that have been great for him to stay in WCW? Not really. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm glad he debuted as The Undertaker, and now he's like the Phenom and a legendary wrestler. So I like what's going on now. I also like the glory days. I like the 90s with the NWO and DX. I like pretty much all the time periods, and I enjoy most wrestling anyways. ECW was like my favorite company though, so because I think they were good at doing storylines. They would do crazy spots, but the person would actually go for a finish. Jerry Lynn's working Rob Van Dam. They do a bunch of crazy shit, and then one of them tries to win, and then they do some crazy shit, and one of them tries to win, and they're getting closer and closer to that end line. So it's actually keeping the fans kind of on the edge of their seats. And then when the finish finally pops, the whole place erupts, and that's like a sign of you're doing it correctly. I always feel like comedians, pro wrestlers, anybody, when they get no response and they turn around and go, "Oh, that's because the crowd sucked." It's like, no, it's because you're doing it wrong. That's not the crowd's responsibility to like cheer for you or boo you if you're not doing or laugh for you or enjoy your band or do anything, unless you're doing it in a way that they're all wanting it to happen. So that's but I mean, I also taught wrestling. So I was a trainer because, well, the other thing was like I had a shaved head, a goatee, and I'm 5'7", and I'm at the time when Goldberg was popular, Stone Cold Steve Austin was popular, Gilbert was popular. So I actually never sent my stuff in, you know what I mean, to WWE. And I remember Christopher Daniels talking about it at a camp, and he said once he shaved his head, Vince was like, "Oh, that's too bad. You shaved your hair off." And like, so it was like right away. It's you two look too much like my main characters. And so that's another thing that like there can only be a couple of each character. If you balance it all out, then you're gonna have probably a pretty cool product. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ken.
Yeah, sorry, I got a call. I don't know what the hell happened there. I
Oh,
don't know why it's up on you.
Oh, no problem at all. But I was gonna say there's so much I agree with you when it comes to uh the way wrestling goes and the way matches should go, the way promotions should go like that. And of course having that insight and the life that you've lived and like so many different things that you've been able to accomplish. I mean, it's great to see that you do have your or at least been a part of all these different things and being able to shape who you are today, and now being able to again, like obviously doing a show tonight and being able to play with Deathwish and stuff. I mean, it's like there's so much to admire about all the stuff that you've done. And it's so cool to see that.
Thanks. Yeah, it's just all it all ties together. I mean, the only time I'm actually on Wikipedia is actually I trained Ken Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Anderson, and it shows up as Eric Hammers as one of the trainers, and then Mike Mercury or Mike Krause was the other trainer, and then he went from there. So like I'm actually good friends with Ken. I used to hang out with him all the time, like stood up for his wedding. So I've like wrestled probably like 5 or 6 top superstars that are like, you know what I mean? Eventually went on to like be main event people. And it's kind of like I worked with 3 different people that were in one WrestleMania match for a Money in the Bank match. But when I think about it all overall, I think everything is actually like all the same. Like songs happen in repetitions of 7s. Wrestling matches happens in repetitions of 7s. An action movie happens in repetitions of 7s. It's always 3, 5, 7, and so politicians like all that speak well all speak in 3s, 5, 7s, and 9s. The ones that don't know it are like horrible to listen to them talk, and it's like why they don't connect with people. So I kind of think everything is like interconnected with everything else.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And the way that you just pointed that out, like everything just started clicking in my head for all those different things. It does make so much sense. It's just like the more that you can have repeating patterns like that, the more that you can focus in like that, the more repetition for everyone else is able to either start to appreciate or start to remember. Whether they like it or hate it is a different means, but it's constantly being remembered like that. And when you do have those kind of repetitions, especially with odd numbers like that, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's just I mean, the other thing is then you can like if I talk from the stage, I actually know like the number repetition. So then I'll just take whatever I'm going to say and put it in the order that humans intake information, which makes it a little bit easier for them to digest it as they're hearing it. And then it's also people just want to have fun. You're like I kind of feel like as an artist, you create your art. As soon as you're taking money at the door and you're on stage, you're now also an entertainer, and that's your job. And if you're accepting money to play or pro wrestle or skateboard or do whatever, you better be entertaining because that's what everybody's paying to see. They want to escape their life. They want to escape the boss being a jerk or someone being mean to them or whatever. They just want to have a good time, and that's what we're trying to provide here.
Oh, absolutely. And going back into the latest album, that's how I feel about that. It's just like it's a great half hour of a good time with such great songs. Whether it is just like going at full guns blazing, whether it's a little more step back in the tempo, regardless of any of it, it's just a great time from start to finish. And I imagine anyone who's able to go out and see you on tour right now with DRI and anything else that's going to be happening in the future for this album cycle, they're going to be in for a great time when it comes to your set.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, we put everything into it. It's all been going well so far. Although I got electrocuted like on our last show, that was kind of brutal. Like on the last song, we played Aftermath of a Severed World, and I almost met the 4th Horseman, but like everything turned white, and like next thing you know, I was on the floor, and my buddy's like, "Hey, you hit your head, you hit your head." I'm like, "Hey, did you see the white light?" And he's like, no." And so I just like completed the circuit. I don't know if the ground was off or what happened, but I've never been electrocuted that hard that it knocked me out for a couple seconds. And then I ended up on the ground. So, well, it's a good way to end the set. People remember it.
Oh yeah, it's really life imitating art. I mean, especially for the new album. So but I'm glad to see that you are okay when it comes to that as well too. I mean, obviously, it's that would have been a one way to go out, but I'm glad that you're able to still keep going.
Hey, DRI just got here. There's Kurt from DRI.
Hey, how's it going?
Give me 1 second.
Oh, sure thing.
All right, we're back.
All right, cool. Yeah, and hearing that and also getting near the top of the hour, I think it is a good time to be able to start to get towards the end of that. And I just want to thank you again for taking the time to be able to talk to me about everything that's going on in your world right now, past, present, and coming up with the future. Is there any other plans that's going on after this tour?
Yeah, we'll figure that out as it comes. Like, we got this tour. We did like so many tours last year. Like, I think I was gone for 4.5 months. So we covered quite a bit of ground last year. But yeah, we got the one with DRI, and then we're in the process of figuring it out. We're talking to a bunch of different bands and seeing what we're gonna do next.
Oh, awesome. I'm so glad to see that. And, it's just, again, it's just been awesome to hear about like the life that you've been living so far, all these great things, the highs and lows and everything, from almost getting electrocuted to being able to share the ring with so many great professional wrestlers, the skateboarding, and of course, being on tour with DRI right now, being able to continue on with that great rapport. And I thank you so much for taking the time to be able to promote everything with Deathwish. And of course, the Fourth Horseman, available now, came out just back on Friday. Again, thank you so much for all of this.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Just remember, quitting's for losers, and rock and roll's one hell of a drug.